This video is going to talk you through assignment 17-3. We're going to do some of the problems together, and then you're going to do some of them on your own. So the first page, they've asked us to identify the solutions to the quadratic equations below. Our steps are listed right here, but I want to remind you that anytime they are asking for solutions, they are asking for roots, solutions, x-intercepts, zeros. So it's basically a fancy way of saying, what are your x-intercepts? So in my equation, y equals negative x squared plus 10x minus 21. My steps are off to the right side. Make sure your equation is equal to 0. Well, y and 0 are basically the same thing. Put the equation into y equals in your calculator. So that's what we're going to do. Negative x squared plus 10x minus 21. Next, they tell us to look at the graph by clicking the graph button. So I know how many x-intercepts I'm looking for. So there's one right here and one right here. So I'm looking for 2 x-intercepts total. To find the solutions, we click second trace, option 2. Move to your solution, otherwise known as your x-intercept. So this is where one of my x-intercepts is. It does not have to be perfect. Remember, down at the bottom, it says left bound. So we click the left arrow, left, 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 and click enter. Then it says right bound. So we click right 6 times, 1, 2, 3, to get back to where our x-intercept is, and then to go to the right of it, and click enter. And then we click enter again. And so one of my x-intercepts, or zeros, is 3. I can see there's another one, so I'm going to click second trace 2 and repeat those steps. I start by going to about where the x-intercept is. Slide to the left, enter. Slide to the right 3 more times, enter, enter. And my other x value is 7. They might be listed as 3 and 7. They could also be written as 3, 0, and 7, 0. Either of these are acceptable, so you can write it either way. So down at the bottom, they ask you to try those, so make sure you're following those steps listed up above. You're going to do it 12 times. Let's flip over to the back to review factoring. On these, they ask us to factor, do not solve. So all we are doing is factoring. Your answers will look different than they do on the front, so make sure you're doing the correct steps on the correct paper. First, make sure your equation is set equal to 0 or to y. If not, rearrange. So this one is. See if you can factor out a GCF. If you can, do it from all 3 terms. So I'm looking to see, is there a number that 3, 13, and 10 all share? There is not. So my G and GPS is going to be none because they do not share any numbers. Look for a special case. So I'm looking to see, remember, difference of 2 squares is where you have only 2 terms and you have a minus sign in between your first term and your last term. There's no middle term. This one has a middle term, so it's not a difference of 2 squares. Or a perfect square trinomial. Both of these are on your formula chart, just to remind you. So perfect square means I can take the square root of the first and the last terms. I can't take the square root of the first term, so this is not a perfect square. But remember, those are found on your formula chart, or you can complete these steps we're going to do. It just takes a little bit longer. If we don't have those special cases, which we don't, create a box, label your GPS, put your first and last terms in the first and last boxes of your factor box. So my box, first term and last term. These 2 multiply for my product. My sum is found in the center. Remember, your sum does not go in your box. Your sum is put into what you'll find from your calculator. So step 5, put your product divided by x into y equals on your calculator. So I go to y equals, put my product divided by x. Then I will go to the table and search for the sum. I'm looking for 2 numbers that add to 13. So 2 minus 15 would give me a negative 13. That's not a positive 13. So if I keep scrolling and look at the positive version, 15 minus 2 would give me 13. And so those are the two factors that I pull from the calculator. So remember, you put your product, search for the sum. We put those two factors in our box, in the empty boxes, and factor out your GCFs to write your factors. So remember, when we factor out GCFs, I'm looking, sorry, let me choose a new color. I'm looking up and down. So 3x and -2 don't share any numbers. The x squared and the x's share an x. 15x and 10 share a 5. Remember, when we say share, we are talking about the biggest number you could divide out of them evenly. And then 3x squared and 15x share a 3 and an x. -2 and -10 share a -2. So my factors are x plus 5 and 3x minus 2. Now remember, when you're looking for your factors and your GCFs, make sure you're following the signs of the boxes closest to the outside. So this 2 is negative because the box closest to it is a negative. This 5 is positive because the box closest to it is a positive. Also, you can do a very quick check by checking, does your first term times your first term get you back to 3x squared? So 3 times 1 is 3, x times x is x squared. Do your last two terms multiply together to be that last box? 5 times -2 would get you back to -10, so you're probably okay there. So these you are trying in class as well, so there's less of these because they do take a little more time. So make sure you're looking for special cases, but again, if you don't remember those special cases, just use the box to factor.